Good evening, race fans. Welcome to, unfortunately, the last weekend of racing here at Airborne International Raceway here on Motorsports Magazine. We're hoping to show you some highlights of all the exciting action with our three regular divisions. Now, the American Canadian Tour, of course, in town for the Fall Foilage 300. We cannot show you, however, coverage of the ACT race, but it's enough excitement going on with our regular divisions. Right now, I'll bring in my colleague, Rob Knowles, because this, of course, is a two-day event. They had qualifying yesterday and a couple of surprises along the way, but the late model races were really something. Qualifiers won by Lamel, Brian Hoare, and Tony Poisson. Actually, Tony, daily double, he won the semi as well. Tony Poisson is in line for a Triple Crown this afternoon, Steve Hayes. But what everyone in the stands will be watching is the point battle between Brent Dragon in the 0 and Dave Whitcomb in the 25. Heading into this afternoon's racing, Dave Whitcomb with a pretty good margin over Brent Dragon, but it's not a safe margin, is it? Well, it's 30 points, and 30 points is going to translate about a dozen positions maybe. It's not a healthy margin because we mentioned this earlier. Dave Whitcomb a lot of times will crash out of a race early, not necessarily to his own fault. Brent Dragon almost always seems to finish. So if Dave has trouble, Brent's been known to always be there at the end, and that could make the difference, and Brent could be the champion. Another factor working against Dave Whitcomb, you mentioned that there's a difference of about 12 positions. The fact that there is a large field of late models on hand. Yeah, there's a lot of guys who would not normally race here, but with no other place to be, they have decided to come over to the big weekend here to close out Airborne. And some of those guys still are trying to get adjusted to the Airborne surface, and that could be a problem because if Whitcomb gets behind him, he may be a little antsy about making a pass, not knowing what the guy in front's going to do. All right, so that's the battle to watch in a late model sportsman. How about the rest of the points? Any interesting point battles, say in the top 5 or top 10? Well, really, everything's almost sorted itself out. We could have a couple of changes, but we said the difference is 30 between first and second. Scott Carpenter, unfortunately, will not repeat as the Airborne champion, does not appear. He's 57 points behind, and I don't think he can make that up. Pete Fecto is 4th, and Ron Wesson wrapped up Rookie of the Year early on. He's 5th overall in the points, but those guys are pretty much established. It is possible that maybe Danny Bridges or Steve Renner might slip past Weston, though. All right, then we shift our attention to the Flying Tiger race, and on Saturday afternoon, action which you will see next week on Motorsports Magazine. And again, we should mention that the Triple Crown 50 for the Flying Tigers, you will not be seeing that in this evening's program. Rather, next week, a special edition of Motorsports Magazine will have highlights of that Flying Tiger 50 Triple Crown race held Saturday, October 1st. But as for the Flying Tigers on Sunday, October 2nd, what highlights you'll be seeing later on in this evening's program, big race coming up, 20 points separating the point leader Eric Williams and the 8 of Jason Leo. Now, well, they started yesterday 60 points, and it was truly an odd circumstance what happened. Leo and Williams battling for second. Eric did not have to. Had he finished like that, he would have clinched. There's 75 points for a victory, and Eric definitely would have clinched the title. But, that Thunder Road champ said, no, I wanted to race Jason. Went into turn 2 with 2 to go, and believe it or not, the most dependable car in the Tiger circuit, the engine let go. And Eric and his family had rented a hotel room in Plattsburgh. I saw Eric's wife today before I got to the track. He went home last night, dropped a new power plant in the car. She stayed in the warm hotel room. So Eric Williams is here. He's ready to go after that Flying Tiger Championship and try to hang on to his 20-point lead. Any other interesting battles shaping up in the Flying Tiger race? Well, we said Ron Weston was Rookie of the Year in the late models. Rookie of the Year, the Tigers, nah, that's a lot closer. They are 13th and 14th overall in the points. Toby Ebersol with 766, Danny Benoit with 765. So that might be the battle to watch, who's going to be Rookie of the Year with the Tigers. As you can probably notice, it is a very windy morning, and I'm sure it will be a windy afternoon here at Airborne. Street stock competition, Steve Hayes, and this is probably the tightest of them all. Oh, this is going to get fun. We go in today, Danny Gibbs has a 10-point lead on the 29 of Brian Pugh. Now, we had a rarity yesterday. We actually had a street stock semi-feature. And, we said that Tony Poisson was 2 for 2 going for a triple. We have a Triple Crown hopeful in the street stocks. The 66 of Corey Tromboli could pull off a triple. And again, we apologize. The wind is shaking the camera a little bit, so
maybe Steve Hayes looks like you're seeing double on your monitor at home. Sorry about that. Seeing one of Steve is usually enough. Any other interesting point battles in the street stocks?
Well, really, the street stocks, I think everyone's looking at the top, but it's pretty tight behind there. Third is Terry Gunnup with 1,018, and only 8 points behind him is the 81 of Bob Wells. And, let's not forget, right behind there, the battle for 6 is a tie. Sean Fountain, Kurt LaGrave. So a lot of these guys, they may not be the champion, but they can move up a position or two today.
All right, here's what's coming up on this evening's Motorsports Magazine. We will have highlights for the Flying Tigers. They will be qualifying on this Sunday afternoon. We'll have highlights from that. And then we'll have highlights from feature events for the late model sportsmen, Flying Tigers, and the street stocks. A lot of things can happen this afternoon here at Airborne, and we'll be here to bring you all the highlights and the action from that. Also, Steve, we're intending to head to the pits and talk to some of their drivers, find out their plans for next year.
Yeah, a lot of them are very tentative as to what they're going to do. Of course, finances always play a part, but some, we understand, have more or less put everything in motion for 95 and have some sort of a deal going on, and we'll see if we can find out a few of those stories for you.
Do want to make one note. The International Super Modified Association race from Lee USA Speedway, which has been scheduled to air the last couple of weeks on Falcon Cable in Plattsburgh. Unfortunately, we've had problems getting that program on the air, and hopefully Falcon Cable will be able to rectify that problem, and you will hopefully at some point be seeing that program here on Falcon Cable in Plattsburgh. Of course, that was a great race that I know you've seen highlights of, Steve, and really was an exciting show.
Yeah, the Super Modifieds are really a fantastic show. It is unfortunate that a lot of the local fans don't get to see them up here, but when that show gets on the air, you will want to watch it because you're going to see some exciting action.
Hopefully that show will get on the air. So we are headed to the pits where we will try to corral some of your favorite drivers, ask them some poignant questions, and find out exactly what they're thinking about this season, how they did, as well as next season. Steve Hayes, Rob Knowles, set to bring you action, highlights, interviews. Stay with us. You're watching Motorsports Magazine from Airborne. Heat number 1 for the Flying Tigers on the Speedway. 10 cars set to go 8 laps. Here's Steve Hayes with the call.
Mike Ness and awesome Andy Haywood will start in the front row in the final qualifying session of the year for these guys. In row 2, the 07 of Jet Plunk and the 99 of Moon Miller. Row 3 occupied by the red and white 17 of Brian Bushy and the 75 machine of Sparky LePan. Row 4, after a hard ride yesterday, the 14 of Bonsai Bill Barcombe and the 4 of Doug Murphy. Shotgun row, the 2 of Bruce Dussablon and the 11 of Riverside competitor Lonnie Cunningham.
Steve Hayes, incredibly tough conditions, both for fans and drivers, as strong gusting winds up to, I'd say 20 to 30 miles an hour out of the almost due west. It's going to make it difficult for both fans and drivers.
And I can tell you that it is wind gusts that can really bother a driver because they'll head into a turn, a gust of wind comes up, and it'll really toss those cars all over the place. Tell you, if it got any colder, I think some of our safety vehicles would have to add snow plows. It is really chilly up here today.
I'd say with the wind chill, it's got to be close to 40 degrees.
Oh, I bet you it's even lower than that. I'll tell you though, the drivers inside these cockpits don't mind it as much, especially when they get to the 300, because it gets hot in there. It'll keep the engines cool, it'll keep the drivers a lot more comfortable. Unfortunately, the fans will suffer today. Mike Nass and Andy Haywood again in the front row. At least one more lap of caution before we cut them loose. Well, maybe not. The pace lights go off.
Should note, Steve Hayes, that Eric Williams, no problems. Of course, he had to change the power plant on that 77 car. But in the warm-ups, no problems, and he seems to be running up to pace.
Oh, he sure was. I took a good close look at him in practice, and he looked as quick as ever. So the backup power plant should get the job done. The field separated in two separate piles. They come off for green flag flying, and Haywood takes the early lead. On the outside, Moon Miller from outside row 2 will slip into second, but he gets a bump in the pole center Nass. Mike Nass sideways. LePan takes evasive action. And if we don't have a caution, Andy Haywood has a huge lead after half a lap. Mike Nass has the car rolling. There will be no interruption of the yellow. Trouble at 4 though. Plunkett goes around. Looked like Barcombe tucked to the bumper and took him all the way. Still no caution. Plunkett takes off. Haywood doesn't want a caution. Nice healthy margin after the first lap. Miller in second. Bushy third, then Sparky LePan. These guys will be running a 20-lap main event a little bit later. You'll see the highlights here on Motorsports Magazine. Of course, the two cars that everyone will watch, the 77 of Williams, the 8 of Leo. They will be battling for the 94 track championship. Eric Williams already clinched the Thunder Road title in 94. Well, Bushy moves to second, and he is starting to catch a leader. Haywood's lead is shrunk by about a half. Make it maybe 7 car lengths as they come out at 2. One car on the move, and he might have enough time to do something. The 75 of Sparky LePan. 4 down, 4 to go for Haywood. Bushy second, LePan up to third, Miller back to fourth, followed by Dusselbaum, Murphy, Cunningham, Barcombe, Plunkett, and Nass. Brian Bushy quickly catching the leader. The 75 of Spark LePan quickly catching Bushy. And now 3 automobiles will battle for the top spot. Haywood took the lead going in the first turn on the first lap. Has held it ever since, but he's going to have to work for it now with 2 to go. Bushy's going to try the outside groove. Has no choice now as LePan takes the inside from him. Bruce Dusselbaum in the 2 is running fourth, starting to catch the second and third cars. Early retiree or defending street stock champ Moon Miller dumps out a couple of laps early from this one. Haywood takes the white flag, and he's got Sparky LePan within a couple of car lengths. Haywood says, I led the first 7. I just want to lead the last one. Sparky LePan says, I only need to lead at the stripe this time. Dusselbaum side by side with Bushy for third. Plunkett loses in front of the leaders, but he's far enough off the track. It will not affect Andy Haywood picking up the first checker of the day. Haywood green to checker. Sparky LePan, good run to move up to second. Bushy will take third over the 2 of Dusselbaum. Doug Murphy brings the number 4 home fifth. And Rob, Andy Haywood was the benefactor after some early incidents in the first lap, got a big lead. But those last 2-3 laps, he almost didn't win this thing as LePan and Bushy gave him a lot to handle.
Hey, don't forget that Sparky LePan had a great finish on Racing Action Saturday, October 1st, and he's been a fast car this weekend, and Haywood did a good job holding him off.
Oh, no doubt, another lap or two, and Haywood probably would have been chasing the 75 of LePan. I think Sparky needed at least one more, although Haywood was running a pretty good line. He'll carry the first checker of the day. The winner in the number 3 from Plattsburgh, awesome Andy Haywood.
Heat number 2 for the Flying Tigers on the Speedway. 10 cars in this second heat. 9 cars, rather. 8 laps the distance. Here's Steve Hayes.
Ernie Holmes and Toby Ebersol, row 1. Kevin Sorrell, Chris Fisher occupy row 2. Bill Sawyer and Nate Esseltine in row 3. Gary Wood and Bob Woods in row 4. Shotgun to the rookie in the 28, Russell Johnson. Ernie Holmes takes the early lead. Toby Ebersol very content to tuck behind him, not to give up the inside groove. Side by side behind him, Sorrell and Fisher. Yesterday, anything that could happen to Gary Wood, the 53, I think did. He bent the front, he bent the rear. Crew told me today, car's quicker. I don't know how that happened. Ernie Holmes is your leader. Toby sits second with the 82. Kevin Sorrell, pretty good running for Kevin in the 08. Good battle with Fisher, sends Fisher back now. Bill Sawyer has moved into fourth, and here comes that 53 machine of Gary Wood on the inside. He's up to fifth. Ernie Holmes is your leader. Pretty good margin over Ebersol. All the racing, though, is for third on back. Kevin Sorrell's got some pretty good drivers. He's got lined up right behind him. Sawyer looks to the inside the battle for third. Sorrell says, I don't think so. Sawyer gives him a bump. Mr. Independent in the 08. Kevin Sorrell does it with basically little, if any, sponsorship. Sends the 08 wide, and they're going to be 3 wide, and Kevin is stuck in no man's land in Group 3. Sawyer hard into the side of Gary Wood. Moves Gary over. Now Gary's going to line up the 39, and don't be surprised if we get a little retribution. It is Holmes, your leader, Ebersol second. Sawyer has Gary Wood tucked to the back bumper at the halfway point. Fifth is a 47 wrestle time, but that car is going up in smoke. And I don't think that's tire smoke. Ebersol starts to fall back. Sawyer has caught up to him. Gary Wood looks to the outside. Meanwhile, Ernie Holmes pulls even farther away in the front. Gary on the outside of the 39. Figures maybe he could use the 82 as a pick. Sawyer taps it back into Toby, sends him a little loose. All that does is allow Gary to take care of both of them and move the 53 into second.
Good job of using slower traffic right there, Steve Hayes, by Gary Wood.
No doubt about it. He knew exactly what was going to happen. Now, 10, the Speedy Shack, North Country Security 53, make up the 9 or 10 car lengths that he is behind the leader, Ernie Holmes, in a lap and a half. Pretty tall order, but let's see if Gary can get it done. Gary, he's been in victory lane a couple of times this year. White flag. Gary's caught up a couple of car lengths, but not quite enough. Sawyer third, Ebersol fourth. Good battle for fifth between Bob Woods and Russell Johnson. The margin about 5 or 6 car lengths. Gary makes it 3 or 4 now. He catches him in turn 3. It's going to be close. Coming out of 4. Gary looks high. That's just what Ernie Holmes drifted up to. A car length victory for the 79 of Ernie Holmes after a quick 53. Gary Wood definitely made the move in the last couple of laps. Third to Sawyer, fourth to Ebersol. Bob Woods did make the move on Russell Johnson to take fifth. Well, Ernie may have won it green to checker like in the first qualifier, but no doubt about it, Rob, that 53 car, I don't care what kind of problems he had yesterday, he was quick.
Crew's done an excellent job getting the car back together. We spoke to them, as you said earlier, in the heat, Steve Hayes, before the races this afternoon, and they said they're pretty confident that they've done a good job and the car can go.
And he's going to have a few more laps a little bit later in the main event. It may be a car to watch.
Third and final heat for the Flying Tigers in the 1994 season. It's the high handicap heat for the Tigers. 10 cars set to go 8 laps. Steve Hayes, 2 cars to watch here at the rear of the field.
Well, no doubt about it. The fifth row, Leo and Williams. And Leo's got to get a few positions on Eric at some point today. Front of the pack, Tyson Drown, Jimmy Young. In row 2, Mike Bushy and the 18 of Brad Duke. At row 3, Mark Lambert and Mark Eddy. In row 4, Eldred Hutchins, Mark Barnier. Remember, Barnier was the quick car yesterday. In that fifth and final row I just mentioned, Leo and Williams. The front row moves ahead just a little bit. It looks like Jimmy Young will get the jump of the pole center. Tyson Drown. Young tucks down in front of Drown. He'll take the early lead. Lambert to the inside of Mike Bushy, battling for third. Looked like Eric Williams was very cautious on the start, not something we're accustomed to. He really let everyone take off, made sure no one in front of him got squirrely. Smoke from Mike Bushy, that looked like tire smoke though. Young, your leader, Drown, second behind him. He's got Lamberton and Mike Bushy side by side. Lamberton going to do the old split move, or at least he's going to attempt it. Bushy's going to get forced wide, can't tuck in. Eddie clipped him. Eddie gets tossed to the inside, got a piece of Barnier. The 2 cars at the back of the pack, Leo and Williams. I can tell you, best thing for Jason Leo is to have Williams finish at the back and for Leo to win, because he will make up at least 4 or 5 points, say. That's going to help. It's a couple of positions he doesn't have to worry about in the main event. Mark Lamberton battling Tyson Drown for second. Lamberton to the high side, little loose. No major problem. Young starts to pull away. Drown and Lamberton are going to go side by side into 3. Behind them, Brad Duquette. And then Eldred Hutchins. Trouble. Mark Eddy turns it around. He will continue with 4 down and 4 to go. Lamberton, he does not want to be in that outside group. Car's a little loose as it gets to the middle of the turns, but he's able to pull alongside in the stretches. Here comes Barnier on the outside, takes care of Leo, battling the 37 of Hutchins. Took a few laps, but now Mark Barnier finds the right gear. Tyson Drown running the same groove Lamberton wants. And now Lamberton looks at his mirror and says, boy, that yellow number 0's moved up on me. 2 to go for Young. Now the secret so far, the qualifiers, get out front early. Our first 2 have went green to checker. It looks like Jimmy Young will attempt to do the same here in the 3rd and final. White flag this time by. Healthy margin for Young. Looks like he will go green to checker. Tyson Drown runs 2nd, Lamberton 3rd. Jason Leo on the inside of Barnier. That's going to be a good battle for 4th. Leo will get points. Williams will not. Leo might get 1 or 2, but hey, every point helps. Young wins it over Drown. Lamberton, Barnier will hold off Jason Leo to take 4th. Jason having to settle for 5th. And there's no doubt about it, Eric Williams was extremely conservative, Rob.
It's going to make things even tighter, Steve Hayes, as Leo's going to pick up some points on him in this heat. So it will make things even closer going into the final feature event.
Well, I'm sure that it was not that the engine didn't perform, because like we said in practice, he was quick. He just didn't want to get in any trouble. Jason was desperately trying to get to the front, but just could not find the right groove. The inside was a place to be, and unfortunately for Jason, that's where all the guys in front of him were running. Jimmy Young, our 3rd green to checker qualifying winner. Could be a trend forming. Last race of the 1994 season for our late model sportsmen on the Speedway. Big card of late model sportsmen on hand. Big field of late model sportsmen on hand. On the poles, the 97 of Dave Gibbs on the outside, 61 of Robin Wood. Row 2, it's Dave Gay, Ron Lamel, then Tony Poissant, and on the outside, who is that? Billy Fountain, the 91. Then it's Glenn Wright in the 48, Brian Horn in the 45, Danny Bridges, Ron Weston, Doug Hoare, Brent Dragon, Dave Whitcomb, Steve Renadette. We'll set the rest of the field when we can. The green is out. Yay, loose down the backstretch. Tony Poissant goes into the infield. He keeps the car rolling. No caution as the field comes out of 4. Huge field of late model sportsmen. Several of the local drivers starting at the back. It is Gibbs. Ron Lamella 2nd, Robin Wood 3rd, Brian Hoare, who is doing double duty today, looks to move into 3rd on the outside. He's going to do it. Billy Fountain in the 91 moves to the inside of Dave Gay. They currently race for 5th. Found to the inside, Gay stuck on the outside. Glenn Wright right on the back bumper of Billy Fountain. Ron Weston thinks about going 3 wide, then backs out of it. Billy Fountain a little bit loose between 3 and 4. Gets the car back down, but he's going to lose several spots. Spin in turn 2. Berger Blake, Clem Despo involved. Caution is on the speedway. Caution is out. Four laps complete in this late model sports main event. It looked to me like there was some banging going on into turn 2. Some of the cars at the front of the pack lifted for that, and then cars in the rear of the field just ran right up upon it, and a couple of cars had not quick reaction time, and they had no chance to slam on the brakes and stop, and they went for a spin. That's exactly what I think happened. Big break for the 42 of Tony Poissant, who was 3/4 of a lap down to the leader, Gibbs. And of course, Tony, the guy looking for the Triple Crown today, looks a little doubtful right now.
right, we'll take a break with 4 complete. They will set the field, and we'll come back to Motorsports Magazine at Airborne. All right, with a caution on the speedway, as we come back, we'll take this chance to try to reset the field. Dave Gibbs, the 97, he's the leader. He's from Jericho, Vermont. Essex Junction, Vermont's Ron Lamel is currently second. Brian Hoare runs third. He's from Colchester. Hoare doing double duty in that car today. He's also running it with the American Canadian Tour. Robin Wood from Plattsburgh is fourth. South Hero, Vermont's Glenn Wright, currently fifth on the speedway. Running sixth is Plattsburgh's Billy Fountain in the 91. Champlain's Dave Gay runs in the 7th spot. 8th spot, rather. Ron Weston is 9th. Brent Dragon, 10th. Dave Whitcomb, 11th. Steve Rennedet is 12th. Red Mead, 13th. Richard Bootsy is 14th. Berger Blake is the driver of car 27. He's 15th. Bucko Branham, he is running 16th. Norm Gay is 17th. Scott Carpenter runs 18th on the speedway. 19th is Joey LeCaire. Steve Hayes, did we ever get a name, the driver of the 31? It is not Lance Furno.
Yesterday the car was piloted by Jeff LeCaire.
Okay, thank you very much. Then Lonnie Lackalade is the driver of the 17. Gordon Adams is in the 55. Peter Fecto with a lousy start way in the back of the pack. He's slowly working his way up in the 75. Phil Scott, driver of the 14. Joe Thomas, another unlucky driver, as he had to start way in the back of the pack. Then we have the 12, Chet DeVarney Jr. 33 of Ed Lockerbie. The 04 of Greg Lyman. The 01 of Gary Cunningham. The 42 of Tony Poissant. Clement Despo in the 3. And the 57 of Jimmy Barton. Four laps complete in the late model sportsman main event. The final main event of the season. And a couple cars to watch, the 0 of Dragon and the 25 of Dave Whitcomb. Here's the field. Coming out of 4, the green is out. Watch out for Brian Hoare in the 45. He moves inside of Lamel for second. Lamel dives down to the inside trying to protect his position on the track. And the yellow is out as we have a melee in between turns 1 and 2. Scott Carpenter, Peter Fecto, Joe Thomas, Chet DeVarney, Monty Lemaire, Clem Despo as the field slows on the front stretch quickly. Lonnie Lackalade also involved. He's parked up between turns 1 and 2. And Clement Despo in the 3 turns his car in the right direction. Several head to the pits. Steve Hayes, I think mostly it's going to be cosmetic damage for these cars.
Well, a couple of cars I'd wonder about. The Lonnie Lackalade car hit pretty straight on, I believe. It happened when Scott Carpenter got tapped in the turn, got it sideways. Everyone avoided him. You cannot blame Pete Fecto. He had cars to the left, cars to the right. Unfortunately, the car in the middle was the sideways car of Carpenter. It hit him pretty good. Then all the automobiles behind him with no place to go got involved.
Lonnie Lackalade is out of the car, and we cannot see the front of the car from this angle, obviously, but doesn't look very good when a driver gets out of the car and unbuckles everything. He apparently has some major damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, he hit it pretty hard. The 17 went in at a bad angle, and I'm sure that front end messed up pretty bad.
All right, still 4 laps complete. They'll reset the field. We'll come back to a restart on Motorsports Magazine from Airborne. With 4 laps complete, all the cars involved with that incident, with the exception of Lonnie Lackalade, have returned. We have 32 cars currently running on the speedway, and they are paced by the 97 of Dave Gibbs. Ron Lamel gets his spot back. Doug Hoare also not rejoining the field, so those 2 cars not able to make it back for this restart. Robin Wood loose.
and he is going to lose several spots. Billy Fountain right on that rear bumper of Glenn Wright as he looks to move underneath Ron Lamel. They race for fourth, Fountain and Lamel. Brian Hoare to the inside of Dave Gibbs down the backstretch. He has the lead. Brian Hoare shoots into the lead. Gibbs back to second. Glenn Wright right behind the 97. Right to the inside of Gibbs as they head into three. Gibbs forced up the racetrack. Glenn Wright now into second. Third, Ron Lamel. Gibbs pushed back to fourth. Billy Fountain running fifth. Sixth is Steve Renadette. Well, now that spot is under contention as Bridges moves to the inside of Renadette. Several cars running very tight in this group that you see on your television screen, and there goes Red Mead. Red Mead for a spin down the backstretch. Keeps the car rolling. He'll rejoin at the rear of the field. There's the leader, Brian Hoare. He's opened up 5 car lengths over Glenn Wright as they put a lap on Red Mead in the 1. Ron Lamel is third. Gibbs runs fourth. Billy Fountain is fifth. You see the field coming out of turn 4. Joe Thomas working his way to the front of the pack on the outside. Thomas around the 15 of Joey LeClaire. Fountain still runs fifth. Danny Bridges is sixth. Seventh is the 76 of Steve Renadette. Eighth is Ron Weston. Brent Dragon runs ninth. Look who's right behind him. Point leader Dave Whitcomb. For Dragon to win the track championship, he needs Dave Whitcomb to finish about 15 spots behind him, and right now that doesn't look like that's going to happen. As this time by, we will be halfway through this 30-lap main event. Dave Whitcomb has his sights on a 0. As long as he stays where he is, he will be the track champion. Leads it down the backstretch. He has a 10-car length lead over the 11 of Ron Lamel. Third now is Glenn Wright. Dave Gibbs with a strong run. He is fourth. Fifth is the 9 of Danny Bridges. Billy Fountain back to sixth. Seventh is Steve Renadette. Ron Weston eighth. Ninth Brent Dragon. Rounding out the top 10 is the 25 of Dave Whitcomb. Berger Blake is up to 11th in the 27. 12th is Bucko Branham in the 63. Running 13th is Richard Bootsy in the 21, and Joe Thomas is up to 14th in the 66. Brent Dragon spins. Dragon spins on the front stretch. The caution is out. Steve Hayes, I did not see how that happened, but I know the car that was running behind Brent Dragon was Dave Whitcomb.
No contact, if that's what you're alluding to. It looked like he just lost it up in the turn. May have got a tap, but if he did, I'm not sure if it was from Whitcomb. Caution is not for Brent. Brent took off. The caution is for the 50th Storm and Norman Gay. So Brent will restart in the position he was before he went for the little 360.
All right, 18 laps complete, 12 laps remain. Did the caution come out for Brent Dragon, Steve Hayes?
Caution should have been for the 50 of Gay. When the yellow flag was thrown, Brent was taken off and Norm was off the turn and definitely not going.
All right, so he gets his spot back in line and then he will reset the field with 18 complete. We'll take a break. You're watching Motorsports Magazine from Airborne. Restart lineup is set with 17 complete. Brian Hoare, Ron Lamel, row 1, row 2, Glenn Wright and Dave Gibbs. Row 3, Danny Bridges, Billy Fountain. Row 4, Steve Renadette, Ron Weston. Brent Dragon, 9th, 10th is Dave Whitcomb. Berger Blake, 11th, 12th, Bucko Branham. Then it is Richard Bootsy and Jeff LeCaire in the 31. Field out of 4, the green is out. Good restart. Lamel looks to cut it down, contact. Caution on the speedway. Glenn Wright parked on the inside of turn 2. As it looks like a couple of cars wanted to... Whoa, look at Ron Weston's car.
Remember earlier, fans, when I talked to him and I said that car looks like a mess, he couldn't do much more to it? Boy, was I wrong.
Well, the frame still looks good.
Yeah, it's the driver's cockpit. The roll cage is intact. That's all we care about.
Well, on the restart, it looked like a couple of cars on the outside wanted to dive down to maintain track position.
Can't say as I blame them. Inside, the place to be. Outside, the train goes by you underneath. But unfortunately, the guys who had the inside didn't want to give up that track position.
Who can blame them?
That's true. The guy who paid the 48 of Glenn Wright in the Children's Miracle Network automobile, and he's had some good runs this season. He won one, we mentioned that earlier, and he had a good chance at the top 3 here today.
All right, 17 laps complete. And Ron Weston will take his car pit side. They'll rip that off, and I'm sure he'll be back out, although not quite as aerodynamic as previous. Stay with us. You're watching Motorsports Magazine from Airborne. Restart lineup has been posted with 17 laps complete, 13 remaining. Brian Hoare, Ron Lamel, row 1, row 2, Dave Gibbs and Steve Renadette. Row 3, Billy Fountain, Brent Dragon. Row 4, Dave Whitcomb, Berger Blake. Row 5, Bucko Branham, Richard Bootsy. Row 6, Joe Thomas and Joey LeCaire. Row 7, Jeff LeCaire. And on the outside should be Gordon Adams. Oh, look out. Robin Wood takes advantage. Good battle for third. Steve Renadette on the outside of Dave Gibbs. Renadette will take over the third spot. Gibbs runs fourth. Billy Fountain fifth. On the restart, Dave Whitcomb was able to work his way around Brent Dragon. Fountain looks to the inside of Gibbs down the backstretch. Gibbs gives racing room. Billy Fountain moves underneath and takes the position. Dave Whitcomb will try to do the same thing. Fountain to fourth, Whitcomb to fifth, Gibbs back to sixth, maybe seventh, as Brent Dragon has a wheel underneath and he will take over sixth spot. So Gibbs loses 3 positions, he's going to lose more. No. Finally able to get the car down. We watch the battle for fourth. Up in front, Brian Hoare has a 10-car length lead over Ron Lamel. There you see Horror in your picture. Then Ron Lamel second. Steve Rennet at third. But right now, Brian Horror is dominating the field. Battle for fourth. Dave Whitcomb to the outside of Billy Fountain. Down the backstretch, Whitcomb powers around the 91 and takes over the fourth spot. Billy back to fifth, running sixth is Brent Dragon. Gibbs is seventh. Eighth is Berger Blake. Ninth right now, Bucko Branham. You see Bucko in the 63 look to the inside of Berger Blake in the 8th spot. But lap traffic helps Blake shut the door. 10th is the 66 of Joe Thomas. 11th is Richard Bootsy. 12th, Joey LeCaire. Jeff LeCaire, 13th. Scott Carpenter, 14th. Chet DeVarney, 15th. Clem Despo, 16th. Tony Poisson, 17th. Gordon Adams is 18th. Chet DeVarney and Scott Carpenter run very tight out of turn 2 and down the backstretch. We'll go back to the front with 26 complete. There's Brian Hoare. Still 10 car lengths over Ron Lamel in the 11. Danny Bridges is a lap car. Then the 76 of Steve Rennet is third. Fourth, Dave Whitcomb in the 25. Barring a major breakdown, he will be the track champion. Billy Fountain is fifth. Brent Dragon is sixth. Seventh, Dave Gibbs. Berger Blake is eighth. Bucko Branham ninth. Joe Thomas 10th. Brian Hoare out of turn 4 sees the white flag. Young driver out of Colchester, Vermont, is going to pick up the checkers here in the final late model sportsman event of the year at Airborne. Hoare wins it. Lamel second. Third to Renadette. Whitcomb fourth. He's the track champ. Fountain fifth. Sixth to Brent Dragon. Seventh to Berger Blake. Eighth to Dave Gibbs. Ninth, I believe, was Bucko Branham. And 10th, Joe Thomas. Chet DeVarney spun between 3 and 4 on the last lap. But once Brian Hoare got to the front, Steve Hazen, it didn't take long. Once he got to the front, the race was over.
I agree. The guy starts 45, quickly established himself as a car to beat. No one could do it. And remember, that car doing double duty, it has a 300-lap American-Canadian Tour event facing it still today. Nice sportsman gesture here. The Zero Dragon pulled alongside the Pete's RV 25 of Whitcomb. Little thumbs up there. As Dave Whitcomb captures the 94 track championship, Rob. And you have to admit, he kind of earned it. He's had some great runs. He finished third at Thunder Road for the season. He's had a pretty successful year.
Well, Dave Whitcomb has been a model of consistency through most of the season. While he's had some tough crashes over at Thunder Road, really here at Airborne, the season has been pretty much event-free in terms of hazardous wrecks or damage to the automobile, and he's been able to keep that pretty clean. And because of it, the consistent finish, he is the track champion for 1994. Second will be Brent Dragon. As they are down in victory lane, finishing third. Steve Renadette, driver of car 76. See if we can get a shot of Steve down there. We're almost stuck behind the flag stand. There he is, being interviewed by Rick Knowles. Renadette finishes third in the final race, 1994. Ron Lamel finishes second, and that, again, Steve Hayes, that's been a car that's been pretty consistent through most of the season. Took him some time to dial it in, but he's been pretty strong over the last half of the year.
No, I agree. The Meineke Mufflers Ron Senecal Construction 11 machine, which this year has Ron Lamel Jr. behind the wheel. Ron, of course, comes out of NASCAR North competition. It took him a few weeks to get everything settled, but when they did, he found himself running at the front of the pack quite often. And as I said, coming out of NASCAR North, he has enough experience to know what to do when he gets up there.
And the winner of the final late model sportsman race 1994, driver car number 45, Brian Hoare. There's Brian down in Victory Lane getting congratulations. Okay, Steve Hayes, track champion. Dave Whitcomb, final comments about the 1994 late model sportsman season.
Well, you know, coming in, we had no idea who would be the track champ because there were so many variables to contend with. Whitcomb would have been considered one of the contenders, but he would not have been considered the favorite by any means. Of course, with Steve Miller departing the scene, that really opened the door for a lot of drivers. Redida was given a lot of notice because as he started freshman season last year, he found that he could handle this division. And of course, Brian and Doug Hoare, they always seem to run strong. They were also mentioned.
There's Dave Whitcomb being interviewed down in Victory Lane. Track champion, 1994. Steve, some changes next year for these cars, perhaps. Maybe minor changes. I think we're going to see car counts in this field really continue to increase.
I would hope so. And of course, Flying Tiger drivers always hope to get into this division. Let's remember, this is one of the divisions that we understand will be running it up in Malone. And a lot of these guys are thinking, hey, maybe I can run Fridays at Malone, Saturday at Airborne.
All right, stay with us. Coming up on Motorsports Magazine, we will have highlights from the Flying Tiger feature as well as the street stocks. And I understand they'll be running a little bit longer than usual. Stay with us. More racing action coming up on Motorsports Magazine. Final event on the Speedway for the Flying Tigers in 1994. Lot to be decided in this one, Steve Hayes.
Would love to tell you the difference in points between Williams and Leo, but we are not sure. As we mentioned earlier in this program, we believe it's about 20, so that would translate to 9, 10, 11 spots on the track. I'll tell you though, obviously if the 77 is anywhere near or in front of the 8, it's Williams' title, and he'll have 2 of them. Front row of the 28 car feature, Mike Nass, Andy Haywood. Row 2, Moon Miller, Brian Bushy. The rest of the field, I'm sure we'll cover them at one point as they have 20 laps to decide it all. Haywood and Nass together, 2 Red Bull. Haywood end over end, the styrofoam Blasco scattering. Mike Nass from the pole destroys the front end of his automobile. And the front row quickly in turn 4, never making the stripe rod situation of maybe knowing it's the last straight, trying a little too hard. Oh, big time trouble on Nass automobile. Haywood's got some styrofoam stuck under the automobile. He'll be okay, but pole sitter Mike Nass looks like the right front wheel bent a little bit to the left. Well, maybe that's okay. I don't know, Rob. What do you think?
Styrofoam, fortunately, I think for the Nass 81 especially, located down at the exit of turn 4, or else that lick would have been even more jarring, I believe. And no, ladies and gentlemen, that is not snow.
It could be.
Although it is cold enough for snow.
Oh, and that styrofoam is not cheap, but it does save race cars and definitely the condition of some race drivers.
It is cold enough for it, but it is not.
Last week at Thunder Road, it was the styrofoam that saved Beaver Dragon, I'll tell you.
Last week at Thunder Road, it was probably 65 or 70 degrees.
It was a lot warmer than this. I stayed in the stands the whole time at Thunder Road. I wasn't up here for the 300, was I, Rob?
All right, complete restart when we come back. All right, let's hope this restart be a little bit cleaner than the last. Steve Hayes.
And Andy Haywood rejoined to the back of the pack. One retiree. It was a guy supposed to start at the front, the 81 of Mike Nass. He has not returned. New front row, the 99 of Moon Miller, the 17 of Brian Bushy. Row 2, Ernie Holmes, Toby Eversole. Row 3, we find Kevin Sorrell, Chris Fisher, Bill Sawyer, Sparky LePan, Nate Esseltine, and Gary Wood, the top 10 for the restart. 20 laps the distance. Jason Leo is a couple of positions in front of Eric Williams on this restart. He'll have to be a lot farther in front of him at the end, though. Mike Nass will make the start, but he's 3/4 of a lap down to the field. Maybe another quick caution. Now Mike Nass would like the yellow to come out. Miller, your leader. Ernie Holmes inside of Brian Bushy battling for second. Heavy duty bumping behind, and Tyson Brown way off the track. He gets it turned around. There were some cars that were not showing a whole lot of respect. The middle of the pack is getting a little hectic out there. Several automobiles exchanging sheet metal. Asseltine Young come together. They square things up. Nobody's looking at the front because there's a lot of bumping in the middle and the back of the pack. And of course, they want to make sure the 8 and the 77 aren't involved. Mark Eddy spins a 51 around. Nobody will get a part of him. 4 wide into turn 3, 5 wide into turn 3. Russell Johnson 5 wide, and he loses about 6 or 7 positions because of it. Side by side, Nass and Miller, but Nass about to go a lap down. Miller is the leader. Holmes runs second, followed by Bushy, Ebersol, Gary Wood, and Bill Sawyer. Next in line, Mark Lavender. Boy, could he use a checker flag here. Chris Fisher, very loose out of 4, keeps it off the concrete. Many of these automobiles are probably racing for the last time here today. Some have been sold, some will be scrapped, some will be parts of other automobiles for next year. Gary Wood trying to stick his nose into a couple of competitors, trying to find an extra spot or two. Gary with a 53 slides up into 3rd. Mark Lamberton trying to work behind him. He'll move into 4th. Miller still the leader. Ernie Holmes still second. It is. Oh, let's see. In the battle for the championship, Jason Leo has 4 positions on Eric Williams. Not enough for Racing Jason. In the qualifier, Williams extremely conservative, and he is more conservative right now. Over at Thunder Road, he was battling Ricky Dennis for that title. He had to drive a little tougher than this. The points were a bit closer. Miller, your leader. Battle for second. Not much of a battle now. Gary Wood powers past Ernie Holmes. He takes Mark Lamberton right behind him. Holmes back to 4th. Brian Bushy, your 5th place car, and Jimmy Young closing quickly on him. Now Gary Wood and Mark Lamberton going to act as a tag team to work their way to the front. Steve Miller, your leader. We call him Moon Miller. He's no longer the leader. He's the defending street stock champ. Highlights of that championship battle next, and that will be the final event for 94. Look at this coming out of 4th. Some automobiles not running the groove they'd like to. These 4ths are going about the 3 wide slot. We will be half down, this time by Gary Wood, trying to pick up another checker flag. Mark Lamberton, his closest pursuer. Trouble up in 3, Mike Nass and Eric Williams involved. And now, Jason Leo has 13 positions, and that would be enough, but you know Eric's going to move up. One car really on a move, the Zero Hero, Mark Barnier. He is really starting to come to life, and Jason Leo is a car right behind him. If I'm Jason, I might hook right to the back bumper of that Zero and take him with me. 12 down, 8 to go. This time by wheels set the field as they cross the stripe. Gary Wood, Lamberton, half a stretch, front stretch back to Holmes, Brian Bushy, LePain, Young, Sawyer, Barnier, Leo, Hutchins, Ebersol, Esseltine, Bob Woods, Mike Bushy, and Russell Johnson. Then 9 more back to the 77 of Williams. Eric has some laps to work, but he better start moving because Jason is moving. Leo to the inside of Barney. He'll pick that one off. Now he gets stuck behind the 39 of Sawyer. Leo into the back end of Sawyer. Groove opens up. Mike Nass blocks it, and Leo has to back off. We're thinking about a 3 wide move into 3. Up front, Lambert is still a couple of car lengths behind the 53 machine of Gary Wood. Trouble in 3, and Eric Williams nearly was involved. Everything is straightened out now. Williams hit the binders hard, but now Eric Williams has exactly 0 cars beat. Matter of fact, he would be the next car to be lapped. Big time trouble. Mark Barnier spins and Mike Bushy collects them. No caution. Mike Bushy smoking the right front. Eric Williams would love a caution right now. Eric Williams loses a lap. Gary Wood passes Williams. Williams is dead last on the car of the cars running on the track. Jason Leo is in the 6th position, and if they were to throw the checker, Jason Leo would be the champion. The Eric Williams fans are dead silent. Williams' first job, get back past the 53 and play for a caution. 3 wide Williams, Gary Wood both getting past Bonsai Bill Barco. Williams puts the left tires off the track. 2 to go. Eric Williams is not going to get the job done, fans. Again, unofficially, we believe the difference was about 20. But Eric Williams is way back of Jason Leo. Maybe he wasn't conservative. That brand new power plant may not be as good as he would like. Last lap of Tiger action for 94. Williams on the back bumper.
Oh, he takes him around.
Gary around.
He took him out.
No doubt about it. Takes him out. He may be on the lead lap, but he will not be the track champion. Mark Labrador will be victorious, and I'm almost positive Jason Leo will be the 1994 track champ. Labrador wins it. I'm positive Leo has got to be the track champ, Rob, though, because Leo finishes 5th. Eric Williams is dead last of the cars on the track as far as I can see. And there's a lot of them left.
Oh, man.
But what about turn 2, the last lap? No doubt about it. Williams at the back bumper at Gary.
Took him out.
Powered him right around. Gary is not the happiest guy in the world. That's for Mark Lamberton will pick up the win. And it's really unfortunate the difficulties he had a couple of months ago because he was in the title hunt at that time.
And no one knows exactly what the situation is other than the fact that Mark Lamberton has won this race.
We will give you the top 5 unofficially. Lamberton, Brian Bushy in for 2nd. They've got Gary Wood 3rd. I don't think, well, he took off, but I don't know.
He kept the car moving.
He might be 3rd. They have Ernie Holmes 4th and Jason Leo 5th, but I would have assumed that Leo got by him. Maybe not. Well, Eric Williams pulls up to the flag stand, figure maybe I'm the track champ. I don't think so. Jason Leo has pitted the automobile. They're telling him in the pits right now, official inside the cockpit, they might be calculating it. Maybe the difference was more than 20. But if it was 20, Leo is the champion, Rob.
Well, Steve Hayes, a very interesting turn of events here at Airborne. As the always unpredictable and exciting Flying Tiger division, the last lap, Gary Wood in the process of lapping Eric Williams. Williams gets into the rear end of Wood, sends him around. Christmas in October for Mark Lamberton, who ends up picking up his first victory of the season here on the last day. And it's been a real tough luck season for Lamberton, but a hard-earned victory here this afternoon. And let's face it, no one deserves that much more than Lamberton after putting the car back together.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Mark hoping to run both Malone and Airborne next year. Right now, track announcer Rick Knowles talking to Gary Wood. I'm sure he's asking about what happened the last lap up in 2, but we talked to Gary before the race, and of course wish him the best of luck. Looked like he was going to win it, but Lamberton gets the first place honors. Gary Wood will be 3rd. Brian Bushy finishes 2nd, and we should mention Brian Bushy's got to be the best finish he's ever had. He had a great run. Holmes will be 4th. Jason Leo 5th, and they still have not made it official, but I have to believe that he got past Eric Williams in the points.
There's Gary Wood. He ends up 3rd. Good run for young Brian Bushy in the 17 as he's going to take it home 2nd. And the winner down in victory lane, there he is, Mark Laverton. Well-deserved victory. Puts the car back together. Of course, you remember the nasty wreck, what was it, at the beginning of the month of August?
A couple of months ago.
And he puts the car back together. Victory here on the Fall Foliage weekend for the Flying Tigers. And there's Brian Bushy, driver of car 17, who finishes second. Steve Hayes' final points still have not heard. Perhaps they're calculating them now. And we'll have to wait to find out exactly the situation. And when we find that out, we'll bring it to the fans at home.
That's right. Once again, we're saying the difference was about 20. We were informed that they thought it was about 20. If that was the case, Eric Williams was much more farther behind than he needed to be, and Jason Leo has to be the 94 track champ. Only thing left today, only thing left for this season, the Street Stock main event, 15 laps of scheduled distance.
Final event of the 1994 racing season is on the Speedway. But don't forget, fans, next week there is one more edition of Motorsports Magazine, as we will have highlights from the racing card held Saturday, October 1st. So this is the final race of the season here at Airborne in 1994. But there is one more episode of Motorsports Magazine from Airborne. That will be next Thursday night. Steve Hayes, the Street Stocks close out the 94 season.
And Tom Curley has upped the ante a little bit as far as the distance of the race. 22 starters. Let's go lap a car. 22 laps, the new scheduled distance. Rick Wells and Sonny Reeves in the front row to set them on their way. The difference between Dave Gibbs and Brian Pugh, about 15 or 16 after yesterday's qualifying. There were 10 coming in, and we believe Dan got Brian by about 2 or 3 positions. Trouble, Reeves and Tim Martin. Dual pirouettes out of turn 2. No yellow yet. 00 moving. 39 is sitting still. Now he moves. No caution. Although there is a black flag being clinched, it is being pointed at the 75 of Charles Farnsworth. He was not given the black, just a very stern warning by Chief Starter Butch Henry. It is Rick Wells, Charles Farnsworth, Jim Varner, your top 3. Behind them, Parent, Bob Wells, Corey Trombley, hoping for the Triple Crown, Leo Duggan and Rick Frenier. The 0 of Steve Fisher goes sideways out of 3. And I believe he had a little bit of help. 2 down, 20 to go. This guy's getting a little extra distance to close out the 94 Airborne racing season. Originally, this race was to be held before the Tigers, but it was changed because of the weather here on top of the tower. Whoa! Corey Trombley into the wall hard. Barno clipped the back end, and Corey nearly head on into the turn 4 embankment. The styrofoam blocks that were there at the beginning of the Flying Tiger feature were moved, and Corey Trombley wished they hadn't been. No Triple Crown for Corey. That car is severely disabled, Rob.
Steve Hayes, he nailed the wall hard as the safety personnel here at the track get over to check out Corey Trombley. Hopefully he'll be okay, but he had a solid collision with that turn 4 wall.
All right, they're going to have to reline them and start it all over again. Still should be 2 down and 20 to go. And the 75 of Farnsworth will have a talking to this time by Chief Starter Butch Henry.
Steve Hayes, good news to report on that last mishap.
Yeah, Corey Trombley got out of the car on his own power, looked A-okay. He might be sore in the morning, but it could have been much worse, obviously. It's a hard hit in one of these little cars. Rick Wells and Farnsworth in the front row. Bob Wells, Leo Duggan row 2. As far as the title contenders, they occupy the 5th row. Gibbs to the inside, Pugh to the outside. I would say if Dan Gibbs could be anywhere in the top 5 or 6, the title is his. Rick Wells, he won a qualifier yesterday. Bob Wells going to make it a family connection up front. Now Bob's going to go to the inside of Rick. Farnsworth ducks to the inside. He'd like to follow the gap. Andrew Carey thinks about it. And Rick Wells is in no man's land. He is on the 3-wide groove, not where anyone wants to be right now. It is Bob Wells, Charles Farnsworth, Andrew Carey, Terry Gunnup, Leo Duggan, then Dan Gibbs, Kurt LaGrave, Ralph Doss Jr., Liberty, Pugh, Rick Wells, and Sean Fowden, the front of the pack. Four down, 18 to go. Farnsworth starting to smoke in the 75. Dan Gibbs about 4 positions in front of Brian Pugh. Only problem is it has to be the other way for Brian to have a shot. He's got to finish a few positions in front of 92. Trouble in 4. Fisher and Frenier get together. Fisher spins around. Sonny Reeve narrowly avoids him. Up front it is still Bob Wells and Farnsworth, but now Dan Gibbs moves into third, going up to the inside of Andrew Carey for fourth, and behind that pair, the 61 of Ralph Doss Jr. Still plenty of laps for somebody to make a move, and the smoke is getting heavier from underneath the 75. Carey very loose in the 99. Doss will get under him. I don't think that's tire smoke on Farnsworth's car. Take a look at him as you go by this time. There'll be 7 down. Smoke clearly coming from underneath the automobile. He catches up to the leader though, Bob Wells of the 81, but Danny Gibbs catching up to Farnsworth on the outside. Gibbs makes the pass. Good up runs fourth, followed by Ralph Doss Jr., Andrew Carey, Leo Duggan, then Brian Pugh and Skip Liberty. Dan Gibbs to the outside of Farnsworth. Gibbs will take second. The only person in front of Gibbs now, the 81 of leader Bob Wells. Reeves spins it and rejoins right in front of the leaders, and Dan Gibbs will have to go to the right side of that automobile. Dan Gibbs trying to use the outside groove to take the lead from the 81 machine. Farnsworth not letting anyone get away from him. It may be smoking, but it's still moving upwards. Farnsworth dives to the inside. He's going to make it 3 wide into 3. Wells cuts off the 75, namely because he's got to keep the 92 behind him. Gibbs and Wells drag race to the stripe. Give it to Dan Gibbs that time, but he's on the outside. He'll lose the lead at least momentarily in the turn. Going up fourth, Ralph Doss Jr. still fifth. Then Brian Pugh moved into sixth. Dan Gibbs noses ahead of Bob Wells on the stretch, but in the turn, Wells takes advantage. Farnsworth hoping for them both to make a mistake. 11 down, 11 to go this time by. Well, apparently, in order for Brian Pugh to have a shot at winning the title, something has to happen to the 92 car. Dan Gibbs decides, okay, outside's not the place to be. Let's see if I can get by on the inside. Says, nah, I'll give the outside another try here. Now, Farnsworth has a problem. He really can't afford to go 3 deep, so he's got to figure out who he thinks is going to get the best here and follow that guy through. Right now, Gibbs with the advantage, but again, going in the turn, Wells pulls even. Now Gibbs gets a good shot at him. Shot of momentum coming off for Danny Gibbs, clearly in front to take over the lead. Bob Wells trying to return the favor to brand new leader Dan Gibbs. Farnsworth is still in the third spot. Good field of cars in the middle of this pack, including Fountain, LaGrave, Frenier, Liberty, Nolan, and Duggan. Some of these guys want to get into the Flying Tigers next year, just a matter of finances. Of course, the guy who won the Flying Tiger, the Street Stock Championship last year did go into the Tigers. It is still Gibbs, Wells, and Farnsworth, the top 3. Starting to separate themselves now. Fourth by quite a margin is the 60 of Gunnup. But on the plus side, it's quite a ways back to the 61 of Doss and the 29 of Brian Pugh. Well, if we had the regular distance, this race would have been over. But now we get that into that added distance. And somehow every time you add distance, something happens at the front of the pack. Best battle on the Speedway, probably the one for 5th between the 61 of Ralph Daughtry, the 29 of Brian Pugh, the 99 of Andrew Carey. But I'll tell you, Dan Gibbs may have taken the top spot, but he has not run away from that white 81 of Wells. Farnsworth starting to drop back maybe half a car length. The 60 starting to reel in the 75, but he's still got about 10 car lengths to make up. Trouble on the 71 of Tony Broussard, way high in 4. Maybe a flat tire. He's very slow and off the pace. Next time by, 19 down, only 3 to go. 3 laps remain in the 1994 Airborne season. Dan Gibbs trying to put a lap on the 43 of Ken Niesick. He's able to do so with no problem coming out at 2. Now it's about 8 car lengths on the Bob Wells 81. 3rd Farnsworth, 4th Gunna, 5th Ralph Doss Jr., followed by Brian Pugh, Andrew Carey. Good battle between Sean Fountain and Rick Crane behind Carey. 2 to go. Does not appear that Dan Gibbs will get beat. And after that also means he will be the 1994 Street Stock champ here at Airborne. We've crowned one already, Dave Wickham. We have not crowned the Flying Tiger champion. They have not made that official yet. It's either Leo or Williams. And in the last lap of competition for 94, Dan Gibbs with a healthy margin. Half a lap remaining for the Gibbs 92. Into 3 out of 4. No contest here. It'll be the orange and white 92 of Dan Gibbs in for the win to conclude the 94 Airborne season. He will be the 94 Street Stock champion here at Airborne International Raceway. Bob Wells 2nd, Chuck Farnsworth 3rd, followed by the 60 gun up to 61 of Ralph Doss Jr. And that concludes the racing, Rob, for 94. And already everyone's thinking about 95, but as we said, Wickham, he's the track champ for the late models. Dan Gibbs takes the championship of the street stocks. We have unofficially given the title to Leo. Of course, that's unofficially because we don't really know what the difference was coming in, but it's either Leo or Williams. And a pretty good race for the Gibbs 92. What better way to win a title than to win the race to do it?
Well, good job by Dan Gibbs, the 2nd Mopar driver to be victorious today, as in the American Canadian Tour Fall Foliage 300 event, which we cannot show you here on Motorsports Magazine. Ralph Nason dominated that event. And there's the 2nd Mopar in victory lane, a little bit to a lesser scale than Nason's Dodge Intrepid.
Oh, right now, Brian Pugh pulling up. Hey, congratulations.
I think these two guys are pretty good buddies, actually.
Yeah, they are. And, of course, Ralph Nason, we should have known he'd win. He won the opening event at Airborne, and he closed out Airborne with a win. Thing is, I believe it's his only 2 wins on the American Canadian Tour this year. 2nd was Layton, and a good run 3rd. Former late model competitor Dennis Demers, who was 2nd for quite a while to Nason.
Charles Farnsworth, there he is. He ends up 3rd.
For the 75, Charles Farnsworth.
Bob Wells is 2nd. There he is, driver of 81. And just pulling back into victory lane, Dan Gibbs getting out of his car. Oh, there's his father.
That's Dave Gibbs, driver of the 97 late model Sportsman. Doing the dance. Now, at Thunder Road, he rolled this car during the Milk Bowl weekend. He got out and did the same thing, did a little dance on top of the hood. This time, he's doing it in a much happier circumstance.
Steve Hayes, final comments, 1994.
Oh, well, my brain cells have frozen a bit, so I can't tell you. It's been a great season. We've had some great racing here at Airborne in 94, of course. 95, we never know what the next season's going to bring. We know that as far as we know, the track will be here and all the divisions should remain the same. We know of no changes there. And a lot of drivers hoping to move up in division. A lot of people out there, some fans, I'm sure, hoping to maybe get into racing in 95. Best way to do that? contact the American Canadian Tour over in Waterbury, Vermont. They'll be glad to send you all the rules. And you know, it's pretty fun to be out there. Just ask any of these guys who campaigned during the 94 season here on Saturday nights.
Steve Hayes, 1995 looms to be a very exciting season as we'll be back here at Airborne covering events here at Airborne, as well as a brand new asphalt facility opening up in Malone, New York. Heard very varying stories about that track, and hopefully we'll be able to get some confirmation, but it does look like they'll be running rules very similar to Airborne. We'll be seeing a lot of the same drivers at that track as we do here, and hopefully we'll be able to bring the fans of Motorsports Magazine some coverage from that track in Malone.
I absolutely have seen pictures of the track. It's a D-shaped oval. Can't tell you the size because if you ask two people, they'll tell you a different size of the place. But it's banked 8 degrees, 8 degrees, and 12 degrees, and it is going to be an exciting place to race, no doubt about it. Very easy to find. If you actually head up toward Malone anytime this winter, you can't miss it. It's right off the road.
Okay, we've enjoyed the 1994 season. And Steve Hayes, thank you for your continued efforts in Motorsports Magazine, a show which started out on radio and then moved to cable television and has been here at Airborne since the inception of the American Canadian Tour, taking over and maintaining and running the track since 1991. Actually, was that 1990? Can't quite remember.
Yeah, something about
anyways,
something around there.
The MSM cameras have been here since the beginning, and we certainly enjoy bringing you this racing program. Of course, the reasons why we bring you the program simply because, number one, we enjoy it. We have a lot of fun ourselves here at Airborne, talking with the drivers, interviewing the drivers, and bringing you the races. And number two, because we believe these drivers deserve some attention and some respect. They put a lot of effort into these automobiles, and really auto racing is an exciting sport, and these drivers deserve all the recognition that they can get, and Motorsports Magazine is a vehicle for them to get some of that recognition, Steve.
Absolutely. A lot of drivers say that they're happy for the show because sometimes it gets some sponsorship money. Of course, sponsors love to see their name on the side of a race car to have us mention them. That's why a lot of times we try to throw out a sponsor too if we can. But I'll tell you, none of these guys you've seen here in Motorsports Magazine are in it for the money, because I don't think anybody makes money racing unless you're an awful big name.
All right, for the final time from Airborne in 1994, for Steve Hayes, I'm Rob Knowles. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you have enjoyed the 1994 season here at Airborne. We remind you that next week there is another edition of Motorsports Magazine that will bring you highlights from the Saturday card of action here at the Fall Foliage weekend. So next week, next Thursday night, the Saturday card from Airborne, right here on most of these cable access stations. Also, a reminder that later in the month of October, we hope to have coverage from the Oktoberfest down at the Lee USA Speedway. Check the Press Republican for local listings. Steve Hayes, thanks again. 1994, and we hope to be back next year.
Well, thanks a bunch. It's great doing this. Of course, after the Lee Oktoberfest, we won't see you until 95, but when we do, hopefully coverage from 2 facilities, but we'll have to wait and see how the winter months proceed as to if we'll be doing that or not.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully that'll be able to come through for us. Thanks for joining us throughout the 1994 season, ladies and gentlemen, here at Airborne as well as at the Lee USA Speedway, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Once again, final time, Rob Knowles for Steve Hayes. We will see you at Airborne in